Alrighty everyone, welcome back. It is now August 23rd of 2025, and given that the Meghan Markle drama situation going on right now over at Netflix is not seemingly coming to an end, but one thing about With Love Meghan Season 2 is that it is indeed just around the corner, set to drop on the 26th, and we already know that internally speaking, it is indeed a ratings disaster if you're going by the 7 consecutive failed test screenings across the board by test screeners, and how they all on average gave it a 2.5 out of 10, which is very much abysmal even for Netflix standards. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. Now, one thing about Meghan Markle is that in the middle of her press tour and the marketing campaign, which has been very much minimalist, I should say, the marketing campaign, we know one thing about all of this is that she's been going off the rails. She's been very much vocal as of late, showing her bitterness toward the general public, and one thing that she had to deliver had a lot more to do with something related to the infamous pregnancy video and exactly how she delivered some of the worst news yet. Let's get into this. Now, one thing about Meghan Markle for sure is that she's one of the personalities, one of the quote-unquote celebrities that just likes to have all eyes on her. She basically is an attention seeker. That's essentially what she is at the end of the day. Nobody would really actually consider her a good actress, quote-unquote. But one thing about all of this is that we know one thing for certain related to Netflix right now is that they are having by far the worst, and I mean the worst press tour for an actual series on Netflix, and so far it's really backfiring. Now, with the Meghan Markle backlash already getting worse behind the scenes, days before the release of Season 2, one major development going on now involves more to do with Meghan Markle going back on the subject about her pregnancy video in the middle of her press tour for Season 2. Meghan recently delivered the following. You know, looking back at that viral moment that I created and how I just made so many people laugh around the world, I think I would like to say that I would want to revisit that very video that featured my pregnancy that was done in a humorous way and what ways I could change or make that viral post better. You know, like how could we repurpose it to do something different? There are so many possibilities of what you could do there because social media is 100% driven by music now, and I think it would be a fantastic idea to change up the music and add in some of the shots that I never showed to the world just yet. So that is something that I am thinking about doing right now. It's constantly on my mind. How could I make the world laugh again, like I did months ago? And of course, you are always going to get haters. You are always going to get naysayers that never want you to succeed on social media. So going back to that video and really changing it in several ways is something I'm seriously planning to do because I think that was my peak moment on social media. And you know, it felt good to make people laugh. It felt amazing to improve people's day. You know, maybe they were having a bad day and my video lifted their spirits. That's what that viral video was all about. And so this would be a sequel to it of some kind. Haha. I always want to also educate people, whether it's men or women, on how important pregnancies can be. And so that video I put out there, it was just not a humorous piece on social media, but an educational piece as well to, well, women. It's okay to have fun. Don't you forget that. It's okay to have fun and to be funny even while you're pregnant. You can still dance like I did. And so that's what I really enjoyed about it all. I changed people's lives, whether it's in the short term or the long term. I absolutely impacted people's lives, for the most part positively speaking. I think looking back at it, sure, you're going to get tons of critics who want to project their horrible lives on yours. Now guys, let me just say one thing about this. Now, not only is she addressing the criticism, she's claiming that she changed people's lives by creating this viral moment on Instagram. And look, I think that's all an imaginary piece in her head. Pretty much, you know, 90% of people out there thought it was ridiculous and absolutely horrid to actually see what she was doing there, and it was also cringeworthy beyond belief. Let's not forget that. But one thing about Meghan Markle is that this is the last thing you would want to talk about just days before the release of your series that's going to be a guaranteed ratings disaster based on the internal ratings, as we discussed earlier in this video. If you missed it, Test screeners gave it a 2.5 out of 10 on average, which, that's terrible. I mean, that's really bad. In fact, I actually thought that was way higher than it should have been. I would have imagined it would have been a 1.5, maybe even lower than that. But moving on forward, alright, we know one thing about Meghan Markle in this situation is that she will do whatever she has to do to stay in the limelight, to stay, of course, whatever she views as relevant in the film industry. I mean, she's beginning to realize that the studios, alright, on a mass scale are just outright rejecting her. Already her NBC negotiations are going haywire. We'll have a lot more to talk about that coming up, so stay tuned on that. However, this is where it really begins to actually go out of whack. Now, she continues, and they want to take their anger out on you, but that's a them problem. They just have no clue what they are talking about when they are criticizing someone like me, criticizing a humorous video all done in good fun to make people laugh. So having this opportunity to look into it on how I can change that post to perhaps make it funnier and even more engaging for social media is something I'm seriously working on right now. Guys, before I move on, basically what she's confirming here is that she does plan to create a repurposed version of that infamous pregnancy video with new music, new shots mixed in, and stuff like that. It's basically going to be a new pregnancy video. Now, there's no official timeline on when she's going to drop this thing, but it is something that she's working on. It is something that she's actually heavily, in the thinking process about. And the fact that she's going this far to use that as another prop, another crutch, so to speak, to kind of keep her up as quote-unquote popular as far as she sees things going on here, I think it's really desperate because she knows that Season 2, it's not going to work in her favor. She knows Season 2 is going to be a ratings disaster. And look, we know that all the producers, the executives, the board of directors, Ted Sarandos and Greg Peters, they all know that this series, it's not looking good. They know that it's going to be a very bad ratings situation, and you're going to see all this happen toward the last days of August, right? So once this thing debuts on the 26th, just be aware, give it a couple of days, let the ratings come in. It's going to take a lot of time to really kind of get a full idea of where the show's going. But we know it's going to be bad, that's for sure, but we're just not quite sure exactly how bad it's going to be when it comes to Season 2. Now, one thing about all of this is that, yeah, she goes on to continue and concludes, it's something that I think you need to really take advantage of why social media is hot right now in 2025. Because it might not be there the way it used to be in a short time from now. So yes, there will be a new version of this. As a matter of when, I'm not sure just yet. So, look, I mean, the fact that she's focusing so much on social media, confirming that she's focusing so much on social media, regardless of the fact that she, got a couple of one-off projects at Netflix, I think she's beginning to realize that it doesn't matter if you get one-off projects over at Netflix. They're all going to fail. No one's going to tune into them. They're not going to be, marketed properly, so no one's going to even hear about them prior to their release. And so that's why she's turning to things like Instagram and perhaps coming over here or going to other platforms like TikTok, stuff like that. So that's exactly what she's planning to do. Is social media is basically now her official backup plan because studios are turning their back on her. Studios that create widespread commercials, they're even turning their back on her as well. But overall, I would like to hear what you all have to say about this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.